What's up, guys? This is Chris with Major Hi-Fi, and today I'm going over the Kinera Hodur IEM. So I've spent the past several videos reviewing stuff that has ranged from moderately expensive to ungodly expensive, so I'm gonna bring us back down to earth today. So Kinera's Hodur goes for $300, which falls pretty squarely into that moderately affordable category, and as a part of that price and the sort of quality that I got out of it, I wanted to make a review on this because I think that this is a really good option for people who are looking for their first, serious IEM, or, even for people who are just addicts who collect IEMs and are looking for a sort of cheap, convenient, but also high quality for what it is sort of unit. So yeah, we're going to be going over that today. I'm going to talk about some of the technical specs. Going to take a peek inside of the box, and then finally we're going to talk a little bit what it sounds like, and then a few more things that we have to discuss. So stick around because we'll be starting that now. Kinera's Hodur features 3 drivers, and with that features a 3-way crossover system. Everything from lows to center mids is delegated to a 10mm dynamic driver, which has a dual magnetic Tesla composite diaphragm. Then high mids are handled by a Kinera customized balanced armature driver, and an electrostatic driver is responsible for the highs. The IEM shell is made from aviation aluminum alloy and makes the Kinera Hodur exceptionally lightweight as well as durable. CNC 5-axis fine carving technology was applied for a high-precision build that reduces shell vibration. Kinera is, in usual Kinera style, really pushing the lore on this one, and explicitly markets this IEM as having a dark sound signature. But let's take a look inside the box. You get Kinera Hodur IEMs, 2-pin silver-plated copper IEM cable, 3.5mm unbalanced jack, 4.4mm balanced jack, 5 sets of final audio silicone Type E tips, 3 sets of KO7 silicone tips, and 3 sets of K28502 silicone tips, a hard carrying case, I'll save my comments on this, and a cleaning tool. So to spend a little while on how these look and how they feel, the IEMs themselves, I think, have a pretty discreet look. They kind of remind me of I'm going to get this pronunciation wrong. You guys are going to kill me in the comments. It's Letschuer L12 IEMs. They have this, this model, at least this unit that I got for this review, has this steely blue look. Like I said before, these are made out of aluminum alloy, and that's reflected in what they look like. They have a pretty obviously metallic look to them. And then this cable is very complementary to them. I think it's a really cool looking cable. It's a silver plated copper cable, and yeah, it has, it's multicolored, has a little bit of shine and glimmer to it. So yeah, I'm a fan of the looks. I don't think it's, the most pretty IEM that I've ever seen, but, definitely not ugly. It kind of just does its job. Now, the real star of the show, and part of the reason why I was very impressed with the Hodur, is the fit is one of the best fits that I've ever come across for an IEM. It's incredibly easy, really easy, just one-hand insertion there. Just like that, it's deep in my ear. Didn't have to do the earlobe tug to get it in. So I like this one a lot because it's a good option for people who want an IEM that doesn't feel like they're loading a cannon into their ear every time they want to listen to music. It's a feature that really, really grew on me over the course of my written review. And it's something that I don't think should be underestimated, because with the IEMs that I own, one of them, for example, I have the Audio Oracle MK2. Love the IEM. Unfortunately, the build on it is pretty chunky, pretty cumbersome. I find myself, poking at it a lot. And also there are times where when I want to listen to music, I do kind of have a thought process of, I don't want to go through the 5-minute process of, getting it all set up and properly in my ears and whatnot. So with these though, it really is as simple as you pick them up, you put them in my ear. You just saw me do it. Really, really easy to get in. And then once they're in, super comfortable. Everything about it is really rounded. You have the rounded edge down here. Also, width-wise, it's rounded, so you don't have any like corners or edges that are like jabbing into your ears anywhere. Also, it's really, really thin, so it doesn't stick out of your ear. It like hugs against your ear very effectively. So yeah, once I had these in, it was very easy to forget that I even had them in. I guess if I had one minor criticism of the feel, it might be that the insertion doesn't feel particularly deep to me. I don't think it's like a shallow insertion, but I think if it just went like just a little bit deeper into my ear canal, I would like that. These don't come with foam tips. It seems like Kinera is directing everybody to use the silicone on these, but that's a little too bad because I cheated a little bit and I used my own Dakoni foam tips on these, and I really like them with the foam. I found that it also helped make the insertion feel a little deeper, but even without the foams, the fit is extremely secure, and I'm a big fan. And I think that this really comfortable fit is part of what makes it a good first IEM. You don't have to worry so much about like the cumbersome nature of getting it into your ear. It's like your ears don't have to go through that adjustment period that some IEMs, have you go through. So yeah, with these, it's like once it's in your ear, it's going to be in your ear. And I could just see that appealing to somebody who's new to IEMs. Now, as far as imaging and staging goes, I think you pretty much get what you pay for in that regard, which is it's there. You get a little bit of that across the face sort of sensation with the pans. I wouldn't really say you get like a really vivid, complete image though. It tends to stay a little linear, just sticking to left and right side. That's not to say that you won't get that sort of like angular sensation from some parts. There's maybe a little bit of height in the high end. There are moments where, kick drums and snare drums, you'll feel them in the back of your head. That has a lot to do with the really strong low end response on this. But on the other side of that low end response and how it affects the imaging, I found that sometimes the low end on this, which I'll get into in a second, becomes a little overpowering, and it provides a lot of energy, but what it takes away from is layering. So once you start detracting from some of that distinction, those more distinct layers, the imaging takes a little bit of a hit in that regard. So I do think that a little bit of the, like averageness of its imaging has to do with the balance. So imaging and soundstage, didn't love it, didn't hate it, wasn't impressed by it, wasn't unimpressed by it. It's fine, it's adequate, does the trick, keeps things entertaining enough. Now, the defining balance characteristic of the Hodur is its low end, and it's not just a loud low end, but it's a very widely boosted low end. So that boost, I would say, goes, all the way from your subs, like well into your low mids. It's starting to roll off in the low mids, and then finally, things start to balance out by the time you're getting to like center mids. So kind of as a result of that balance, that low end is really ongoing. It's an energy that's present in basically everything that you're going to hear. So like to compare the low end for a moment to another IEM that is, I think, a lot of people's like first serious IEM, that would be the Moondrop Blessing 2. So that's an IEM where the low end is a little boosted, and that boost is centered on the mid bass and the subs. So what that results in is you get kick drums that really pop out of the mix. It's more like moments of low end impact that you hear that boost. The difference with the Hodur is that boost is driving. It's much wider and it's affecting way more parts. So, you're hearing the impact of kick drums, you're getting that sort of impactful low end, but then on top of that, it's taking like basses, for example, pulling them to the top of the mix. It's taking, like the low hum of guitar parts, like their fundamentals. It's taking those, it's bringing that way up. Male vocal fundamentals are also really emphasized, so it's like a low-end energy layer, really. And then just on a level that I think is personally interesting, the dynamic driver is responsible for both the low end as well as the low mids and center mids. And it's kind of interesting because you hear that, I think, reflected in its sound character, where the low end and the low mids really are kind of one and the same, although the low mids are thankfully less boosted than the rest of the low end. So yeah, it's a thick character, and even though, and on the one hand, this low end gives a lot of energy and it can be a lot of fun for like electronic tracks and for the right genres of music. There are times with more, I guess, like traditional instrumentation, think of your standard rock band or like your standard jazz band, where I don't think that the sound signature is really tailored for that. I don't think that stuff sounds bad either, but even though it adds a lot of energy, it can add a lot of excitement, it can also lose definition. I wouldn't say that things necessarily get like muddy with the Hodur, but it walks that line. It's really pushing that low end boost as far as it can, just short of getting muddy. So just something to be aware of. On the other hand, if you're listening to like electronic music like that, that sort of, like glued together low end energy where everything in the low end kind of sounds like it's just a wall that's coming at you, that works. That's just something to be aware of. Now, as far as mids are concerned, kind of like I was saying, I feel like the Hodur is expressing its center and its low mids kind of as the tail end of its low end. So, you have stronger vocal fundamentals, the lower end of guitar comes out a little more. So yeah, a mids profile that definitely focuses a bit more on low mids than anything else. But that being said, there is a high mid profile in this that I don't see people talk about a lot, but I'm a fan of the high mids on this. They do start to come up, around, I guess, like 1,000 kilohertz. So usually I start to get a little scared when I'm hearing really emphasized guitar fundamentals, that low-end hum of a guitar, because that can get really muddy if it's not done right. But I think that the Hodur counterbalances it in the high mids fairly well, because they do pack a degree of sparkle. They also return, a good amount of like fry back into vocals. So it's giving you emphasized low mids, but it's also giving you just the right amount of emphasis in the high mids as well, to let the low mids do most of the driving without just sounding like a mess. So high mids do return, I think, a good amount of detail into the Hodur's sound signature. Like guitars do actually have a kind of nice, bright, strummy quality that you can hear like right in like the center of their sonic profile. So the high mids are something that I appreciate about the Hodur, almost as much as the low mids and the lows. There's a good balancing act going on there. And then as far as treble is concerned, it's like the Hodur isn't trying to make its point in its treble. So the treble profile serves almost more of like a utility purpose, where it's there to preserve a sense of realism, to make sure that things aren't completely being eaten up by a low end. So the treble profile, I would say, from like 2,000 or 3,000 to 10 kilohertz is plenty present. You're going to hear it, but then after 10 kilohertz, there's a pretty sharp drop off. It's a pretty steep roll off. But I don't think that this is really uncommon at all to see in an IEM that's putting a lot of emphasis in its lows. You can't boost everything. You got to pick and choose what you want to boost. So it's not doing something really special with its highs, I think. Like I said, I think that the highs are kind of like the logical conclusion to what this sound signature would be. So, hi-hats sound natural enough. You get a little bit of vocal air. I think that the best thing about the high-end detail that you can get out of this is I think it does a very good job with vocal reverbs. So I would locate that to my ears somewhere between 2 kilohertz to 4 kilohertz. There is something really nice with the reverb. I think that those mid-treble reverbs are, in their own way, still contributing to this darker sound character where, you know, you have a lot of low-end emphasis, but then it's almost like dark in the way that chamber reverbs have like a certain darkness to them. So overall, for what we discussed for the sound profile, pretty average, pretty, you know, adequate imaging and staging. That's not really what Kinera's Hodur is about. What it is about is a really heavy and driving low end that isn't afraid to jump into a mix and, you know, make some changes. So the Hodur has a really colorful character, and it's boosting bass and it's boosting it hard. And it is making no bones about it that it's appealing to the bass heads out there. Then for the mids profile, you know, it's continuing where the low end left off. You still have a pretty sizable boost in the lower mids that's a little less present than the low boost, but it's still very obviously there. You're going to hear it. And then high mids start to scale back up, which is like a good balance to offset some of the mud that could come about with, you know, low mids and lows being so heavy in a mix. And then highs are there to serve their function of like keeping things sounding pretty natural. Even if they don't extend very far, they extend enough to preserve that sense of, you know, natural sounding parts like hi-hats and vocal air and things of that nature. You know the deal. This balance is another reason why I consider this like a pretty good option for somebody's first IEM, which is that it's a very fun balance. And, you know, I think of a lot of people when they're, like, for example, when I show some of my friends my super cool IEM collection, they want to stick something in their ear that's going to blast their head with bass. And, you know, I understand that appeal, and it strikes me as a thing where somebody who's new to, you know, getting serious IEMs or headphones, I feel like a lot of those people might be looking for something that's really fun and bassy, that's gonna like overwhelm them with vibration. And I think that the Hodur packs that. You know, it has like just an intuitively fun sort of sound signature with a really heavy, driving, rumbling low end. That's what a lot of people who I think are really new to the hobby, who are looking to, you know, expand, get their first really serious thing, a really heavy and fun bass profile, I think is going to please a lot of those people. You know, then there's the other side of things. You have the Moondrop Blessing 2, which I feel like frequently gets cited as a good choice for somebody's first IEM because it has, you know, a really clean, maybe even somewhat plain vanilla balance. You know, and I don't even mean that as a bad thing. It's just, you know, slight bass boost, flat mids, a boost in the high mids. It's kind of like what you see very, very frequently on all frequency response profiles, you know, and that's one direction to go in if you're going for your first serious IEM. Getting a really clean sounding one that doesn't color the sound too much, but, you know, has a little bit of sparkle for it. I see this as like the other side of my first IEM, which is really bassy, in that sense, almost like a little hedonistic in that you just want that like physical sensation of feeling the bass rumble through your head. And yeah, the Hodur is a really great option for that. So why do I think it's a good beginner IEM? Has a really, really nice fit. I can't overstate that enough. I love the way that this thing just slips right into my ears. And then also on top of that has, if not the most accurate bass, really energetic bass that for somebody who's, you know, new to the scene, they're going to be impressed with it. And it's just going to satisfy that, I think, baseline urge that a lot of people who are new to all of this want to hear. They want to hear something with really intense, fun bass. And Hodur packs that, and it packs it in a way that I don't think is dirty. I think still, at the end of the day, it might lose some definition in that low end, but overall, I'm not afraid to say it has like a fairly clean frequency profile. Because that driving low end is, I think, very carefully balanced out in both the high mids as well as the highs. Well, I'm glad that I went over a unit that most people watching this can probably afford, and I'm probably going to be doing a few more reviews in the coming future on like more affordable items. I want to scale things back from where they've been for, past month or so. So anyway, this is Chris with Major Hi-Fi. If you want to see more videos like this, you can like and subscribe below. Also, you can get 10% off your order from Audio 46 and also help support the channel by using promo code Chris10 at checkout. And I'm going to leave a link for that down below. I'm also going to leave a link to the Audio 46 store for the Kinera Hodur. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.